Claudio Fuentes. He's the Algae Program Director at KAUST. He'll be speaking about towards acceleration of industrial production of algae in Saudi Arabia.
All right. Thank you very much. Thank you for the organizer for this invitation. And I'm really glad to be here and to show to all of you what we have done at KAUST. The presentation is toward acceleration of industrial production of algae in KSA. All the data that you will see here is the data that we are obtaining in our pilot plant facilities at KAUST. It's a project funded by MIWA, and you will see what we have done and what are my recommendations for the future of this industry in the kingdom. So the main issue that we have here in Saudi is that we rely on the importation of raw material for feed for animals. This is a massive issue, and of course, it's all about food security. So there is a concern for the latest success, like the war and so on, that there can be a change in the source of proteins, carbohydrates, and lipids. So most of these raw material are coming from South America, especially Brazil, soybean and Argentina, fish meal and fish oil from Peru and Chile. And this is a massive issue, and what the government has done is basically to identify a technology, in this case algae technology, that is able to produce this raw material for feed for animals and for other purposes. But the main goal is to produce this raw material by using this technology. We are at KAUST, what we are doing, we are establishing this algae technology in the kingdom, combining different technology and adapting the technology to the harsh conditions that we have here in this country. So why algal production and biotechnology in Saudi Arabia? Basically because naturally, as you can see here, algae grows in all around the coast of especially the West Coast, the Red Sea coast, and also in the Arabian Gulf. You can see here that we have massive bloom of microalgae or cyanobacteria in northern Jeddah, in Dahban. We also have up north of KAUST, we have massive bloom of Dunalila naturally, and in a place that is called Mastura. Yesterday you saw the presentation of Engineer Albala that shows how Dunalila grow in down south Jeddah in Al-Lith, a massive amount of Dunalila. But also we have a massive bloom of seaweed too. We have macroalgae, especially sargassum. We have different red seaweed, green seaweed, but especially brown seaweed as sargassum. This is really interesting because it's a seasonal macroalgae. It's unexploited, and perhaps this is have a lot of potential, especially for the production of bioplastic, for instance, that we have heard yesterday. And this could be the new bioplastic production in the kingdom. Why in this country? This is a paper that it was published last year by Greeny et al. As you can see, it is clear that to produce microalgae, what we need is solar irradiation. And where we have that in what we call the so-called hot belt countries, right? From 30 latitude north to 30 latitude south. These are the main place to produce algae. And as you can see in this model, the annual biomass production of microalgae should be ranged, in the case of Saudi Arabia, between 60 to 80 tons per hectare per year, right? That is the number. To me, and we have been talking with all the experts, what can I see in future, in 10 years' time? Northern countries like Europe will be the technology providers, and they will be training people because we have a massive lack of professionals who know how to operate large-scale facilities. There are plenty of people who know how to grow algae, but at this scale, and what we need is someone who knows how to operate large-scale facilities. And in the hot belt country, we will be producing large amount of proteins, biomass for protein and other raw material. Well, you have seen all these numbers. There is a discussion between how many tons, 1,000 of tons they are producing. But it's clear that according to the, let's say, official number, which is FAO, we are in the range of 56,000 tons of microalgae biomass, leading by China, clearly. And then we have some other countries like Chile, my country, by the way, and others in Europe, all right? So these are the main microalgae producer. Algae itself, or seaweed, where there is a massive production mainly from the wild, and we are talking about over 32 million tons of seaweed production worldwide. What is this slide about? You have heard yesterday and before yesterday to Dr. Feng Zhao. In China, they have been growing algae and they have been developing the technology since 1960, all right, until now. In the US, since the 70s, all right, they start looking into produce algae for biofuels, and they have spent billions and billions. In Europe, as you can see here, it's mainly since the oil crisis in 2008, there was a massive amount of funding go to algae production. This is a slide that was provided by IABA, and as you can see, roughly, we are talking about 150 million of euros to produce knowledge, to progress in the understanding of what is algae production. Why I'm showing this is because in Saudi Arabia, this is young. So we start, this is another slide that was presented by Dr. John Beneman. It started the roadmap in 2015, all right? So then in 2016, the roadmap was delivered to MIWA. In 2020, the agreement was signed between MIWA and KAUST. And then in October 2021, we start with the project, right? We are halfway of Vision 2030, and we are halfway of to produce and to be a leader of algae production in the world. Regarding the project itself, we start in October 2021, and as you can see here, this is the roadmap. What we have achieved in 20 months is something that I personally believe is remarkable, because from scratch, we have built in 3 months only a pilot plant, as you can see this picture, in operation since June last year. We are now 17% of advance on construction of phase 2, that potentially, and I do believe that in September this year, we will be in operation. That is a 4-hectare plant. So only in 20 months, we have progressed quite a lot. And you will see that my peace of mind is that the algae is growing perfectly fine and is adapted to this hard condition. You will see these are the numbers, right? So this is Arthrospira maxima adapted to Red Sea water salinity. Right? We are talking about 42, we have peak of 46, 48, but the algae can be produced constantly. These are the numbers of Fire Raceway producing continuously since June last year. We are about to, at the end of June, we will be 1 year of production. And as you can see, the behavior or the performance of the algae is quite related to the temperature, all right? Believe it or not, in Jeddah, in northern Jeddah, in KAUST, the amplitude temperature is quite narrow. Actually, between day and night, the difference is about 5 to 7 degrees only. But in winter time, we have a difference of 10 degrees. And as you can see, I don't know if I can point it here. Well, if you can see the trends of the production in terms of kilogram per cubic meter is roughly the same trend as the temperature. Right? The beauty of this is that we have proved and validated that it's feasible to produce in a year-round Spirulina maxima adapted to Red Sea salinity. And this is quite important because having this number in phase 2, we will start in September, and then if we prove one more year production at a higher scale, then definitely we can say that it will be the next crops that we will use for feed for animals. This is another achievement that we have done. As you can see, we have different systems. We have photobioreactor, as Marco mentioned, from Baricon. We have our own raceway that we are producing. We have been producing seaweed. As below you will see that this is, we're about to start the operation of a seaweed raceway at Nacua. This is the water test, that is why it's that color. We are now about to receive the paddle wheel. We will start using, in that case, Chetomorpha or Ulva for bioremediation by using the water that is coming from the shrimp pond. And probably you saw in our booth in KAUST, we have several products. We have more than 7 products from the same strain. And this is something remarkable that we can show that we can produce from biomass whole meal up to a specific pigment, quite a range of different products. Another thing is, this is quite important as well, that we are training the people. We are training the first generation of Saudi algae farmers. As you can see, now we are around 18 people working in this project. We have receiving elevated trainees. We have receiving people from other universities. We are training people. We are really welcome to receive or to host to any professional, any student who want to learn about algae from scale-up, lab, culture, and also downstream process. Everything that we do, we can show and we can share that information because that is the mandate of the government to train the next generation of algae farmer in the kingdom. What is going to be our positive impact? Once we have demonstrated that at pilot scale that we can produce this algae, we also need to demonstrate at larger scale, 4 hectare, what we can produce. This is a projected general output for a 100 hectare algae plant. So we will be in the range of 3,500 tons of biomass per year. Worst case scenario, if we sell this as a raw biomass, it's going to be around 1.2 million input. But best case scenario, if we do other projects more expensive, over 136 million USD. What we also are doing, we are transferring the technology. We are supporting the government, all different stakeholders in this technology. And this is a high economic multiplier effect because it's not only the technology itself, it's also all the suppliers and all the value chain. And one of the most important things is that this will create jobs. Why? Because all these projected higher, larger scale plant will be located in a specific area and rural areas. We cannot be next to the city, next to Jeddah or Al-Lith or Rabi. We need to be in those places where we have available land, flat land, we have plenty of CO2 source, and this is all along the Red Sea coast. The flat land is a vast amount of land. We have several CO2 sources, a thermal power plant, we have desalination plant. We have all what we need in order to be one of the world leaders in algae production. But toward that acceleration of industrial production of algae in KSA, and in the previous session, there were some message, and these are the personal message that I would like to send to the government and the policymakers. What we need to do in order to attract local and international investors, all right? There must be incentives to attract them, and one of the key incentives for them, and this is a massive opportunity for the government, is to create the most advanced regulation for algae exploitation. This is quite important because if the government That's the framework, and take the example from the US, take the example from China, take the example from Europe. We can create a regulatory framework that it will say to the investor come, because you are not going to have only 5 species to grow. You can have 10 species to grow, and you can have this subsidy, and you can have this kind of benefit if you come to this country. And also you have seen the advantage, as Marco mentioned, regarding the climate, but also the cost of the energy. The cost of the energy in these countries is really cheap, and we need to take that advantage. Just for example, in Europe currently, 1 kilowatt is around 20 cents of euro. In this country, 1 kilowatt is less than 1 cent of euro. So that is a massive incentive for the investor to come here. If we showing them that we are able to produce in a yearly round basis this algae, we will de-risk in their projects, and they will come for sure. Another, I think, important message is to establish continued funds to develop algae projects. You have seen that in the States they have spent billions. In Europe, they have spent more than 150 million of euros. We are starting, and we have all the support from the government, but this support must be continuous in order to develop this technology further. Also, what we need is to establish subsidies for investment attraction. Those subsidies, basically what they want, and there is plenty, they need the land. But also we need to secure that land, and also we need to give them free access to seawater, or at least access to seawater. This is important. If the investors see that they have a lease agreement for land and they have access to seawater, this is going to be an incentive for them to come here and to produce the algae in the kingdom. And also, and this is quite important, it must be a structural governmental organization of current and future algae projects. This is a need, because we know that there are different projects, and this is, give me to the next slide. Why I'm talking this? Because there are different stakeholders, massive ones, such as KAUST and MIWA, Saudi Aramco, SWCC, that they are currently doing a project, running project in algae, or they want to run this algae project, SWCC, NEO, all of them for different purposes. In the case of KAUST and the government by MIWA project, this is for feed for animal, but for Saudi Aramco, perhaps it's CO2 capture, for SWCC for bioremediation purpose, for NEO for food for humans, Saudi Green Initiative CO2, NAQUA for different products. But also do not forget the small and medium enterprise, a small investor that they need incentive to start. I have been reaching for several small investors that they want to bet, and they are betting in this technology and they want to invest, but must be from the government a clear message to them that the government will support these people. Next one, oops. And I don't know if this is coincident or not, but if you see the Saudi flag, is a beautiful concentrated algae color. So the guy who made this flag, I think he was visioning that green color is the green future. So that is why I believe that we will be one of the world leader producers. All of this is because of these people, the people that we are working with. Of course, the government, Dr. Ali, Dr. Youssef, for managers such as Mark Hall and Abbas, and the KVD team as a whole, environment, fisheries, aquaculture. But this is the team that we are doing the work in KAUST. And I really appreciate these people because they are doing their best in order to deliver the project. Thank you very much.
Thank you indeed, our valued non-Arabic speaking guests.